of course, with the budget, right? So let's be quite clear about that. None of us know what is going to happen next. But we do know, and this is said non-politically, so whoever you happen to believe in politics is entirely fine. It's up to you. If you think Labour are the best thing ever, if you think Greens, whatever, I don't care. But we do know the country is in a mess. We can agree on that. We also know that the country is constantly telling us it doesn't have enough money. And again, we could talk about how much money is wasted. We could talk about how much tax is spaffed up the walls. We could talk about all of those things. But none of those things are going to change where we are right now, or indeed where we would like to be. So I'm going to put to us all right here, right now, that if you currently run a business, and by business, I mean if you occasionally buy stuff and sell it, HMRC is increasingly looking to take more money from those of us who create to hand it to whoever it wants to hand it to. Now, we know this is just the way it works, right? And as I say, this is a non-political statement. So this live today, this stream today is all about what you can do and what you want to start considering about. So just so we are clear, it is all absolutely speculation. This is what we think might happen. None of this is definite just now. We can think about PAYE, absolutely. If you have questions, comments, I'll try and pick those up as well. But I am in this live mainly considering things like Vinted, eBay, Depop, car booting, all of these. Now, very brief story. Back 40 years ago now, when I was first doing things like car boots were really starting to take off in the country, and they were a great way for me to work through that part of my life. It's fantastic. I could buy a bunch of stuff. I could take it to the car boot. I could make good cash. This was pre-internet, of course. eBay accelerated this process, and Vinted again. And now with social media, remember, social media is still quite a new thing, even as far as when we work online. So what has happened in a very short time, right? 40 years, whether you're older or younger than 40, but it's a short time. What has happened is that many of us have acquired this desire to try and get better value for our money. So rather than go and buy, well, my camera here is on a little tripod, rather than go and buy a tripod from a shop for 30, 40, 50 quid, maybe I can get one secondhand from a car boot from a fiver, right? And many people like reselling and buying just for that reason. Stuff in the shop seems expensive. And as car boots became, everywhere's got a car boot these days. Everywhere's got, it used to be jumble sales back in the day. But now, of course, we've got online. And it's even easier because you have Amazon, and Amazon has a sort of a second-hand wing, and eBay's been around for 20 odd years now. So you can start to find great deals on eBay. And as this has all grown and developed, what has happened, not surprisingly, is that people have started saying, well, why don't I sell this on? And that has always been generating money, right? That's always been generating money. So whether you consider it a business or not, that's how HMRC has seen it. And what happened a couple of years ago, I'm sure you know about this, I made a lot of videos about it, as did many people, was that HMRC and all the major platforms, your Vinted, your Depop, your eBay, these are the main ones, all the social media, people like me, I earn money off my platforms here. All of a sudden, these platforms tied up with HMRC. And what that meant was HMRC knows pretty much how much money you're making. And I used to have lots of conversations with people at this time, and they'd say, well, are you telling me that my couple of grand a year is going to be picked up by HMRC? There's too many of us. There's not enough of them. They won't do it. And I think these people, if that's you, I think you are living in a dream state, right? I think you're living in a dream state. Everything is automated. Everything is AI'd. Everything is, when it comes to finding people who aren't paying what they believe is the right amount of tax, the government will throw pretty much endless resource. So this idea of, oh, it's an easy fix, and this has changed rapidly, by the way, in the last 3-4 years. By the way, just before I continue, I'm going to start to talk about some of the things you want to consider. If you're enjoying this live, make sure you're following me, whether you're on YouTube, Insta, TikTok, or Facebook right now. Please do follow me, and consider sending me a bit of digital love as well, tapping the screen or sending me some love or some things, whatever. Please do that. That would be nice. I think if you're on Facebook, actually, you can send me stars if you're finding this useful. We're talking about reselling, and here's the problem. Here is the real problem. If you do not understand that HMRC now has eyes on the amount of money that you are making, you are fooling yourself. It absolutely does. So if you are a reseller, you are running a business, whether or not you like to see this. Now, there's first of all, there's this £1,000 limit that we need to consider, right? So the £1,000 that you can make, by the way, I do normally take questions, comments, observations. I'm going to talk for a little bit first. If you know me live normally, you'll know I will pick up questions, comments, observations, but I'm running 4 channels right now. So I'm going to try and get through, give you as much content as I can in the next 25, 30 minutes. There is a £1,000 limit. So you get £1,000 per year, and it's called the small trading allowance. Now, don't just take this from me or indeed anybody online. Go and look this up yourself and you will find that I am speaking the truth. You ought to just check this for yourself. Don't assume that when people say to you it's the case, it might not be the case for you. But most of us are allowed to earn £1,000 per year, and there is no requirement to even tell HMRC. But check that for you. That's my case. It's the case for most people, but check it for you. Having got that out of the way, this means, and it's quite helpful, it means you can try a bit of reselling, get to £830 or £20.50, wherever you get to, and you don't need to tell HMRC, you don't need to report it, you don't need to do anything. But the problem is many people, and I know I've had so many questions on them, we're going to be in the hundreds now. So a lot of people who are reselling via Vinted know they are well north of that £1,000. So then the problem is, well, how is that? All I'm doing is. So you've got to start to consider whether or not you are nudging past that £1,000, because if you are, you put yourself at risk. Now, again, so we are clear, right? Because I can see somebody there just coming up with some drivel on one of the feeds. I don't care whether or not you are paying your tax. I mean, on a global perspective, I do, of course, but it makes no difference to me, right? So if you decide to try and do the shifty thing or to try and keep it on the down low, that's on you. It's irrelevant. It's nothing to do with me. But if you are, like most people, trying to keep HMRC at arm's length, you just want to make sure you are doing things right. So this typically means that £1,000, you need to register. You need to get your unique taxpayer reference, your UTR. It's very simple. You can find that on the hmrc.gov website. If you do that, you can then start to track your spending and your costing. Because here's the point. HMRC has already tightened reporting rules, right? It has already started to track down using all these fabulous bits of data it's got to see who is doing what and where they are getting their money from. Now, regardless of whether you think this is good, bad, or indifferent, hey, James, the reality is that this is what HMRC is doing. So landlords are being battered at the minute. Resellers, I think, are next in line. And the reason is the government is piss poor. The government has got no money. The government wants to spaff your money up the walls. But keeping this non-political, because the government has an insatiable demand for money, HMRC's job is to find it. If you are reselling, the government has this perspective that you have lots of money to find. So if you're earning over £1,000 via reselling, it's very easy to earn over £1,000. You really want to consider how you're going to get yourself back on track. So if you don't already have your UTR number, you need to get yourself sorted with that. Now, a lot of people start to get a little bit concerned. All I do is I resell my old stuff. And selling your old stuff isn't a problem. Of course it's not. It's not a problem at all. But people then say, well, how will they know if it was mine? It's my children's, they've grown out of it, they don't play with it anymore. How will they know that compared to reselling? And I think if you're honest with yourself, you know, it's very, very obvious. James just thrown in HMRC has 631 data points to connect. Yeah, absolutely. And Spike, yes, we did pay tax on stuff we bought. So if we resell that, if we just sell our own stuff, that's not a problem. But the point is, if Bob and Julie have one child and they're shifting £15,000 worth of children's clothes every year, you don't need to be an expert to figure Bob and Julie are trying it on a bit. So there is a degree of proportionality. There's a degree of reasonableness here, right? This isn't me advocating for HMRC. This is me trying to soothe those worried brows who are concerned about what HMRC is going to do to you. I have no love for HMRC, but it is what it is. It is there, and it's what we've got to work with. We've got to make it work as well as we can for us. So if you're a reseller and you are near or past or through the £1,000 limit, my strong proposal to you is you might want to check your requirements to get yourself sorted out, to get yourself a UTR and understand. The CBD expert, exactly the same as I just said, CBD expert. You know, there's a degree of stuff that we're going to sell. So let me just pick up a quick message. I'm going to carry on talking in just a minute about some of my notes here. Leather by John T. Taylor. As a small business selling my leather products, we are now looking at correcting our status from hobbyist to sole trader. Yes, absolutely. I think that is absolutely the way to go. I think you are really smart to consider that, because if you do not, you do run the risk of getting yourself into a spot of bother. Hang on, I'm just going to deal with a couple of things here. Give me some seconds, folks. There we go. Good. Right. So if you're at 1,000, if you're past 1,000, if you're through 1,000, get yourself registered, get yourself a UTR, start to track that. Now, when you start to do that, there are some upsides, of course. It means you can consider tracking your business a little bit better. And as John said right there, you really want to work out whether or not you want to just take that £1,000 allowance, or you want to start to run proper accounts for yourself. Now, if you run proper accounts, you can take off your costs. If you don't run full accounts, you just get that £1,000 allowance. So here's how I would see it if I were you. I would consider starting to think, if I've just started a bit of reselling on Vinted or Depop and I want to see how it goes, keep an eye on how much money I've got coming in. But if it's under £1,000, I'm fine. All good, nothing to worry about. But if you're hovering about, if you're past that, if you're through that, if you've been doing it for a while, if you have plans to take over the world in whatever it is you like to resell, I'd get yourself set up with that. Now, we know that this there's another rumor as well about the £30,000 or £90,000 to a £30,000 boundary changing. Now, this relates only to VAT. And the rumor is, these are all just rumors, but we ought to just consider what our response might be. So if you are like me and you sell business to business, you probably don't care. I quite like having VAT, because all of my kit here, the kit that I'm using, the signals that I'm using, everything that I'm using, the subscription I use for everything, it's nearly all got VAT on it, and I can claim that VAT back. So if you're selling business to business, you ought to consult with whoever you get your advice from about whether or not VAT works for you. However, if you are selling to people, VAT is a bit of a problem, I'm not going to lie. So you want to, again, consider in advance what you might wish to do in order to get a better output here. What that means is this: if your price has to go up, either you keep your business below 80,000, as CBD Expert says on TikTok there, or you understand that you're going to make more money and you find a way to offer better value. I'll give you an opinion of how I've seen somebody do that. I like collecting Mont Blanc pens, right? I like collecting nice pens. And sometimes I buy them from resellers, and sometimes those resellers sell them for very high prices. And I don't know the accounts of those people, but I strongly suspect that part of the reason they get away with the quite high prices they get away with is because their presentation, their effort, their offer is 100% professional. So this might mean there's going to be a sticky area. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. If you drop 90,000 threshold to 30,000 on VAT, it's going to make it considerably more difficult for everyone. It's going to demolish business for a lot of people. A lot of people will stop bothering. A lot of people will not declare and will move to cash only. A lot of people will just not start. A lot of people will not bother developing it any further. And it's a pain in the backside. However, if they push through this, if you push through this, you have the opportunity to increase your prices, offer more value to your customers, and work with the VAT. I'm not saying that's a good outcome, but I would argue it's better than having a business knocked out by HMRC. We need to understand something. A lot of small business, a lot of small traders, a lot of small sellers, a lot of people who just resell currently as a hobby are going to be reclassified as a business. That's likely to happen. We are likely to see more of an online crackdown. That is going to absolutely increase. We know HMRC has its Connect system, and we know it can get its data from all over the place. By the way, if you're enjoying this live, please take a moment. If you're not following me, to follow me now. And if you haven't tapped like or wave or tick or send me some love or any of these things, please do that right now. Please do that for me right now. It's the only thing I ask in return for me doing these lives. I don't ask for gifts. I don't ask for payment. I don't charge. I do, however, ask you, if you're on TikTok right now, please tap the screen a few times to send me some likes. It's a very low number. I've been working with you for 20 minutes so far. If you're on Insta right now, please, there's some loves there. Thank you very, very much. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, again, please consider sending me some stars or some likes or whatever it is. I don't forgive me, I don't know all the names, but please do send some of those. It makes a massive help for me on this platform. Likewise, if you are on YouTube or Facebook and you want to drop a message in, do so right now. I'll be very happy to see your message as we go. Thank you. There's a little rose there. Thank you very much. Ibuka, thank you so much for that rose. So let's continue. VAT threshold may or may not come down. If it comes down, it's genuinely a disaster for the country and it's very awkward for people. But you can't legislate for that. What you can do is plan a little bit. What you can do is think, right, am I either going to go with this? Am I going to push through and turn this into something for me? Maybe my prices go up, but I send my stuff nicer. Thank you, Ibuka. I send it nicer packed. I'm quicker on the response. And people will genuinely not care if they get a better service, right? So you ditch the £3.50 items and you trade up to the 5, the 8, the 10, the £20 items. That's one way to go this. Yeah, that should go back. I absolutely agree with you. We'll take your messages and comments and questions soon. So we need to think about that. We need to think about an online trading crackdown. So my socials at the moment are exploding, which is why I'm trying to do a few more lives and a few more videos and be a little bit more regular with it. So both Facebook and YouTube for me, I've only really used regularly for the last few weeks. And Facebook over the weekend asked me to complete various tax forms in order to make all that work. Now, it's always a slightly weird thing, isn't it, filling in a tax form for a company in America? But if you don't do that, you can't get the payment. If you can't get the payment, frankly, what's the point? You've got to work with it and not listen to people who say, oh, you know, sod it. Let's think about some more stuff. Digital reporting, it's going to get more difficult. So quarterly reporting is on its way. If you are running your own thing, you are going to quarterly report. If you don't know about quarterly reporting, tell me about that now as soon as you can, and I will try to pick up your messages and help you. Red Lightning Productions, hi, thanks for messaging me from YouTube. Insta, very quiet at the moment, and TikTok ticking away there. So work with the system, get what we can out of it, but let's consider this. The quarterly reporting is coming for people who are self-employed. I've had to register as a limited company director on Companies House. I don't want to do that, but I like running my own company. So there's a point where you've got to go, all right, that's what we're doing. That's what we'll do. We will get on with that and make it work as best as we can. What's that, says Vix? I don't know what you're asking about there. Digital reporting. So what does all this mean? Well, it likely means that margins could get a little bit thinner, because your 20% is going to wipe out unless you can push your prices up. And you can only push your prices up, I would argue, if you offer more. So think about this, right? Do you pay 100 quid for a mate of a mate of a mate who might be a plumber, who turns up in a box of shit van with his arse hanging out, smelling of cigarettes and beer from the night before? He turns up 4 weeks late and then faffs around and disappears halfway through and then comes back and leaves a big oil stain. Right, you get the picture, right? He's dead cheap, but you get all that problem. Now, I'm pretty sure most people, unless you really are really struggling financially, most people will pay the 150 quid for a guy who turns up on time in a nice van when he said he would, is polite, is respectful, is wearing a smart bit of kit, has got everything he needs, and is done and dusted and out your hair for the quickest time and the best job. Does that mean I'm paying more to my accountant? I'm only a micro business, says Vix. You might be. This is what you might need to find out. You might want a little conversation up front, or you might need to consider changing your accountant. I had a half-hour meeting with my accountant this morning. We've just restructured some business that we're doing. So my point would be this, folks. If you are a reseller, if you're buying from car boots and charity shops and eBays or Facebook Marketplace, that's a tough place, isn't it? And then you're reselling on Vinted or Depop or your own online shop, you've got to consider now, consider putting your prices up and a corresponding extra offer. So what can you add to what you package and sell that doesn't really cost you any more money, might take a bit of extra effort, but with planning you can mitigate that. What can you offer now that justifies a higher price? That would be my question to you. That would be my challenge to you. Because if you can think of that, you can nudge your prices up north. So as an example, if you, I gave an example of the plumber just then. If you are reselling and you are buying, I bought a hoodie, right? An Armani hoodie. Now, I don't care about brands, as you can probably tell. And I have no interest in Armani whatsoever. I bought this hoodie because it was £2.50. And it was in decent nick. It looked okay. I thought that's okay around the house. Not going to wear it in public. It's okay around the house. And according to resellers, it was sort of a £10 to £15 item. It seems to me that if you're reselling, you might need to up your game a bit. It means you might need to spend a bit more to buy better stuff. It means you might need to charge quite a bit more. But if it arrives beautifully packaged, if it arrives with a handwritten note from you, if it arrives super fast, if your correspondence is quicker, better, faster than everyone else's, and the fact I have to give you £28.50 rather than £25, you will find your audience. The cheapskates will drop out, or the cheapskates will go to the cheap sellers. But here's the thing. There's no point you winning the sale if you don't make any money out of it. So you have to find a way of balancing your prices. The VAT is something we'll have to consider, especially buying in materials to make products, says Leather by John Taylor on Insta there. Yeah, absolutely. See, I love VAT because I get all of the stuff I buy, all of the services I use reduced. That's what I do. That might not suit you. But the least you can do, I would suggest, is to try and offer more for it. So I think some people are inevitably going to reduce their volume of sales, which if you're comfortable doing that, great. But, you know, this is the whole thing about the government saying they're behind growth. They're not. Otherwise, they'd be helping people grow. You could reduce your sales. You could, and this is by no means advice, it's just an observation, some people statistically will move to more cash trading. Let's just be honest here. We're talking about a situation, we're not giving advice on this particular topic. It is highly likely if the VAT threshold drops, some people will choose to trade at least some of the time via cash and not declare. Now, I'm not offering an opinion on that because, you know, of course, that is tax evasion and it comes with a whole host of world problems. And I offer no opinion on that other than this. That's going to happen and some people will do that. Now, in global terms, that's a disaster for the country because people reselling, you, if that's what you do, should be nurtured by the state. Because if you think about it, you're taking stuff that is either being rejected or sold cheap. You're intervening, you're tidying it up, refreshing it up, maybe washing it, representing it, restitching it, tidying up, putting in a new packet. You're doing all of that. And in exchange, you are getting some profit. And the government does what the government always does. It adds no value whatsoever, but it says, I want some of that. You've got some, we want some. There are lots of lazy people we've got to pay for. That's the problem. So I think that is likely to happen. We are likely to see a bit of a downward pressure on people who are reselling. What can you do? What should you do? I talked about pricing already. I think if you run cleaner books, I think if you have better prices, if you have a better offer, you are likely not only to survive, but maybe even come out of this stronger. I think if you whinge, if you wing it, if you do deals with people to drive to the other end of the country and hand them a wad of cash, you put yourself at risk. I think those would be risky stages. I think if you're running a clean, tidy business now, I think your best bet is to engage with this. Call yourself a business person, a business owner, define your little business. You don't have to become a limited company at this stage. You can still be you as a sole trader. If you have to go with VAT, forgive me, fuck it, do it, declare it, become stronger, sort your books out now. Now, whether you do that online, whether you do it with notes, whether you do it with a spreadsheet, whether you're mad auntie who used to do the books years ago, however you do it, I think it's probably worth doing those things if you're going to do this. And I would do this before April. We're in early November, well, mid-November, aren't we? Almost mid-November. We are in mid-November now. So I would start to consider thinking about doing that now so that you can get yourself a little bit of leeway. You can get yourself a little bit more balance up front. You can try to get yourself to a place where you are in front of this, because here's what's going to happen. I will guarantee this. Here's what's going to happen. As the new year turns around, a bunch of people will panic about what's going to happen after the budget, right? What's more, you will also see people on this platform starting to say things like, shit, what do I do? You'll see people offering really dodgy advice. I would get in front of this now. The machinery of government moves pretty slowly, except when they think you've got money that they think they are entitled to. And there's no point us whinging about whether they are entitled to it. I don't think they are. And what's more, I think they're going to waste it. But that is, as they say, what it is. So get yourself in front of this. And depending on what happens in the budget, be ready to move. I would start thinking about this now. I would consider, do you see yourself making £1,000 a year or £5,000 a year? Do you want to make £1,000 a month? Is this going to become a side hustle? Are you going to up that £1,000 a month to £2,000 a month to £4,000 a month? Or are you going to start to making money doing something you love doing? Great. If you're going to do that, then go for it now. Get yourself some books. Get yourself somebody to help you do this. Get to a proper system. Try some different models, right? Try different pricing models. You could do this depending on what you sell and how you sell this. You could say, here is the price. It's 100 quid. But I have to charge 20 quid, as you know, because of the government. You could do that. Or you could say it's 120 quid, no VAT. Now, you will still be paying VAT, 20 quid, but my point would be this. Some people would like to buy from you because it's 100 quid and they know they've got to pay 20 quid on top. My point is, and this is ridiculous, by the way, this is just people. Some people would rather pay 120 quid and think they're not having to pay VAT on top. It doesn't really matter who your customers are, but you know who your customers are and how they're going to react. So you could try both pricing models. You see that? You could do that. Think about tracking everything. Think about mitigating everything. If you do the £1,000 limit, that's it. It's £1,000. That's what you get. But if you go past that, and anybody on this live right now who is interested in building up the business and wants to resell and do better, if anyone's doing that, then you've really got to start to consider how you are going to offer this in such a way that it makes sense to your audience. Now, the government says it wants growth, but it doesn't. It's strangling the growth engine. It's more rules, it's more paperwork, it's more taxes. I'm going to take your questions, your comments, and observations in a minute. I'm just starting to wind this up. So I think many resellers will stop. I think some resellers will get caught. I think some resellers will get away with it for a bit and then get really badly caught. There are different levels of punishment from HMRC. I think I think there's an irony that in what HMRC and the government call closing loopholes is actually shutting down livelihoods. That's where I think we are heading towards right now. So I'm going to take your questions, your comments, and observations in a minute. I'm going to keep talking for a little bit longer. I will remind you, please, if you like what I'm doing, please do tap the screen. If you like what I'm doing, please follow me. Please consider also just checking out how you can find what I do and where I do this. There are other platforms that you can find me on. If you look at my profile and look for my link tree, you'll find my other social links there. And I do a thing called the 5-day reset. It's free, helps you make money, save money, and get more balance in your life. So do those things as well. But let me throw some questions to you, and then I will take your questions, your comments, and your observations. So if you are selling online at the moment, how close are you to that 30K? If it's a long way off, great. But if you do well, you could be hurtling towards it. And in any case, you are likely to need to report. Is VAT going to kill your profit line? It will do, by the way, if you haven't planned it for it now. And here's another question. Are you just waiting to see what happens? Because I sense many business owners, I work with lots of business owners, are all doing, Tracy, no, this hasn't been decided yet. What I've been talking about, if you've only just joined us, what I've been talking about in this live is, as people who are interested in reselling, you want to try and get ahead of the problems now. Depending on how much money you're taking in, depending on how much you love reselling or want to do it as a job or as a career, or as a side hustle or a hobby, you want to get ahead of this. You want to get yourself some books managed, because in April we are moving to quarterly reporting, and that is for 50,000 turnover, but it'll be 30,000 the year after and 20,000 the year after that. The pressure on every reseller is going to be massively increased, because HMRC is the collection agent for the government. And this is a non-political statement. I don't care who you support politically. This government, like all the previous governments, are piss poor at development, at economy, at business. They don't understand resellers. They don't see why you should make money, and they don't get a cut. That's the reality. So once we've said that, once we've acknowledged that, once we know that's the reality, let us start to get things up front. Yes, you're absolutely right, Tracy. It won't just affect resellers. I'm doing this live specifically for people who are reselling. That's why I'm talking in terms of your local interest. So if you are small, if you are agile, if it's just you, if you're not making much money, that's great. You can repivot. You can re-control yourself now. You can refix yourself. We've got no control over what Rachel's going to do. We do have lots of control over what we do. Let me pick up some of your questions, comments, and observations. So Leather, this is in Insta. John says, getting in front of the VAT rules is a smart move. I agree with you. Talking to the accountant about buying materials and VAT on raw materials. I got myself VAT registered, I'm going to say 25 years ago. For me, working business to business, it's one of the best things I ever did. Yes, it's more paperwork. Yes, the first few times I did it, it was a 3-day job. It was a nightmare. Nowadays, it's much quicker, faster, easier, and I don't make money back, but I save money on things. So that's very, very helpful for me. How about the stupid fines when the accountant is late? Well, yes, if the accountant is late, the accountant is late. You probably need a different accountant, but I suspect you know that. Gregory Pepper, Graham, you are so right to advise others to get their ducks in a row. You only get away with it until you don't, then you're in a whole lot of pain. Yeah, I mean, look, when I first registered for VAT, when my business first started to really take off, I've known so many small business owners do this, right? You get up to your VAT bill, you get a quarterly bill, and it'll say, my case, right, I owe 20 grand. And I go, fuck, I haven't got 20 grand because I'd spent money that was coming in. So put your VAT to one side. Hang on, I just need to pick up this message from Tracy. This is the best. Oh, Chris, this is the best advice going. Hi, Chris. No point complaining. Plan for the worst. Survive all these days. Yes. I watch your video, says Paul. Couldn't agree more. Can't even watch the news. I agree with you, Paul. I get cross when our leaders come on. Tracy, I doubt they'll drop it to 30,000 yet. I'd say likely by 28. Tracy, it is £50,000 next year. What's that? 26. 27 is going to drop to 30,000. 28, it's going to drop to £20,000. That's I think what has been already announced, because I've got a couple of colleagues who are friends running small businesses, and both of them went, "Oh, I don't know anything like 50." I said, "It's 50 next year, then it's 30, then it's 20." So again, if you're running at 2025, it's almost worth going into it now, because it'll force you to do your paperwork better. It'll force you to do your control systems better. You may as well just bite into it and get on with it. Let me pick up this one as well. It's great at helping people. I'm doing my best, Tracy. Thank you very much. Make sure you are liking and following if you can. In the hot seat, Reeves is about to do a live Q&A. I cannot bear hearing that woman's voice, so forgive me, I shan't be watching that. For those looking into VAT, McCrary on Insta, look up the flat rate scheme. Yeah, good call. You pay a lower than 20% percentage based on your turnover. You collect 20%, but you only pay 12% or whatever it is. Perfect for startups. Yeah, McCrary. I remember an accountant, I've forgotten all about that, mentioning that to me years ago. And he went, "It's worth looking at." So I said, "Oh, great." He said, "You can make money out of it." And I went, "Great." And we looked at it, and turned out that, no, I couldn't make money out of it because I was above the limits. But yeah, that's okay. Good call. Worth a look. So is it still 1 quarter reporting if you're under 1,000? So far, I've made 500 this year. Vix, so I'm not sure what you mean by the quarter, sorry. It's a quarter reporting for VAT. The £1,000, you said you made £500 this year. So if you make £1,000 or less, it's your turnover, it's not profit, then that is considered the small trading allowance. Now, that's dependent upon what other taxes you pay and how you pay your taxes. But it's really easy to check. If you go into the hmrc.gov website and you're looking for the small trading allowance, it's quite clear, it's quite simple. But if you check that out, if you're under £1,000, all being equal, you're typically going to be okay with that. YouTube, Facebook, hi, I've got 11 of you still there. Besotted Carper, good afternoon to you. My pickup come on messages off TikTok. You're joking, Tracy. No, I'm not. Do I look like I'm joking? I need help. I can't help you with that. You and me both. It's hot seat. Yeah, the voice. Darren, is it official they're dropping the VAT threshold? Darren, no, it's not official. Here's what I'm doing in this live. I'm talking to resellers, or indeed anybody considering their business progress over the next few weeks and months. We know the budget is going to be very, very bad for business, because this is a Labour government that is going for growth, which largely means hammering anybody that delivers any growth. So keeping it non-political, what we do know is that VAT thresholds have been discussed. We do know that there is more attention being placed to online resellers. We know that there are 630, I think, data points for Connect. That's the VAT software system. The HMRC software system that looks at social media platforms, that looks at reselling platforms, eBay, Vinted, Depop, and so on. And we know that they are only just starting to ramp that up again now. We know that this is all in operation, and we know the government wants more and more money. So my strong advice, it's not because it's been official, it's been announced, Darren. It's because we know that the budget is going to put more pressure on everyone, and the new year, as we get close to April, HMRC is just going to be doing more and more downward pressure on resellers. That's why I'm offering some support and some thoughts and some ideas. Rachel's the best chancellor since the last one. I think we'd all agree with that. Good afternoon, Graham. Hi, Besotted. Sorry, I'm just getting a little bit of spamming here from somebody. I'm just going to, there we go. Good. Let's pick up some more. Thanks, love. That's okay, Vix. Good. I think I'm up to date on Insta. Do keep giving me those questions as and when you have them. We are okay on Facebook and YouTube. Good. So let me just pick back up to TikTok. What tax year did you say dropping to 50? So Tracy, the 50,000 isn't the VAT. That is when you have to start doing quarterly reporting, and that starts in April if your turnover's at 50. The following year it drops to 30, and the year after that it drops to 20. So that isn't VAT. So that's for people who are reporting as self-employed income. So I have 2 or 3 sources of self-employed income, and the early look at the information is that each of those will require a different stream of reporting. So that's either 8 or 12 reports from me per year, as well as my various limited company submissions and reports. That's going for growth there. It's been officially announced already. None of my customers are VAT registered. It's going to hurt me. Darren, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I was saying earlier on, Darren, I think your options are you can either fold it and earn less if it happens. It hasn't happened yet, but it's worth thinking ahead now, isn't it? You could start increasing your prices, but increasing your offer. You could do that. You could just try and test the market. Here's an interesting question. Now, I don't know what you currently sell your thing for, your service for. I always use the figure of £100. If £100 is too much, down it to £10 or £200. I do that because it's easy numbers, right? If you sell a thing for £100, chances are you can sell it for 105 and nobody will notice. Arguably, you can possibly get to 110 and you won't get many complaints. So you need to start thinking about what you offer and what you sell it as, and then with the VAT on top. And if the whole package looks better, some people may be happy. But also, can you do a cheaper version? If it's 100 quid, can you do a £68 version, which with VAT on top will be under 100, but maybe you don't give them the whole service. So it's trying to find that balance. Insta, in a nutshell, time to start getting VAT and tax armor on. I think that's very sensible, John. I absolutely think that's very sensible. I'd be over the moon with 20k a year. Not there yet. I'll be ready when they come knocking. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of these cases. You've got to put some plans in place. And if the things don't happen, but your business is in a stronger position, if your customers are happier, shit, if you're making a bit more money, no one's gonna complain about that, are they? Do you think HMRC will target users on here? Some creators are earning a lot on eBay. Alexandria, absolutely. And I'm going to guess with the name Alexandria Fragrances. If you're wondering, folks, Alexandria is on TikTok. Yes, absolutely. I do quite well off TikTok. Currently developing Facebook, YouTube. I hope is not too far behind. Absolutely, social media platforms put through a lot of money. When you start to monetize on Facebook or on YouTube, you have to sign I think it's called the W-80N form. It's the government form in America that says they will give the whole amount of money through having notified HMRC. So I do a lot of work with an American business. And 2-3 years ago, I had to sit on the phone for about 2 hours to Washington, where their IRS, that's their version of HMRC, is based, in order to get this form agreed. So my point, Alexandria, is yes, because it's all automated. A business like TikTok has got millions of UK users. A proportion of them are monetized, and a proportion of them are making a lot of money. My strong suspicion is there will be a limit. £5, £100, £1,000, £3,000. We don't know, right? And we're unlikely to find out. But it will be as simple as this, Alexandria. If you imagine January rolls round, TikTok sends equivalently a spreadsheet to HMRC. HMRC runs it through their system, and whatever parameters, whatever filters they've set will pop up. These 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 3 million, I don't know numbers. These people are making this amount of money, right? And then that will be cross-checked against the records that they hold on you. It is that easy now to find us, right? So we can all agree they're going to waste the money. We can all agree they're taking too much. We can all agree that largely they can fuck the right off. We can all agree that. But as it stands now, that's all they have to do. And they know who you are, what you've got, and what you've received. So yes, I absolutely think they're going to do that. April 26th, if announced, as Chris. Thank you for your efforts, X. That's okay. Did pick up some more messages from TikTok. If you're on one of the other platforms, YouTube, Facebook, or Insta, please send me a hello, send me a question, anything you have, that would be great. Sorry, I got confused. No problem at all. Dreading the budget. Ali, we are all dreading the budget, I think, except the lazy asses who do nothing. John, this government won't be happy till they've got all our money. I think you're right. It is a war on small businesses. You're right, Tracy. Companies' house fraud has historically been within government contracts. Yeah, I know. IR35 was brought in originally to stop people leaving public sector very well-paid jobs and then billing back their time to the public sector business, but it's hit private sector as well. Do you think AI is being used as an excuse for companies to cut staff? That's slightly off the bit that we're doing today, Tom. And I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's better. Sorry. Sorry, I got confused. No problem, Tracy. I'm a small limited, just me, trading at VAT threshold for 8 years. My customers would walk all over VAT. Darren, I'm going to throw this out to you, and you know your customers. I don't. You could push through the VAT threshold, because if it comes in anyway, if they do lower it, you've got no control, right? But you could consider pushing through it. You will have to put the 20% on, but see what you can do with prices, with service, with quality. You would lose some customers, perhaps, but the customers that stay might be paying more. So you might actually get less people to deal with and the same or even more money. Now, I'm not saying you should do that, but I am saying you should sit down with the numbers and have a bit of a play. And if numbers aren't your thing, you should find somebody who can help you with the numbers. I've got 2 limited companies. It's all going to be a pain in the arse. You're right, Tracy. How small can a small business be for you to help them, says Besotted. I mean, it all kind of depends, really. You can always drop me a message. Chris, no. Quarterly reporting doesn't mean quarterly collections. For self-employed, you pay in January and July. Quarterly reporting is a way of, I mean, this is the way I'm selling it to myself. It's a way of forcing you to keep your accounts up to date. So see it like doing management accounts. So every quarter you press a button, the accounts go off. And it's a way of reconciling and making sure you're more accurate. If we spend more in our household than we earn, then we have to cut spending. That's right, Ali. Wednesday budget announcement, 26th of November. They need to help hospitality. They do, Harry, and I don't think they're going to. You're already VAT registered. It doesn't affect me. Okay, cool. Seems to be dragging on forever. Do I think it will get better? I mean, it might do. It might do. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll just lose this idiot. There we go. Cool. Good. All right, listen. I'm going to just give you the 3-minute warning now. I'm going to start winding this up. We've been on for 47 minutes. I'm hoping you've enjoyed this. If you have, please do. Please do follow. Please do like. Please do things. Split the company in two. I mean, maybe, possibly, not necessarily. We've done this before. More time and more money. Time can be used to acquire new customers. Absolutely. Do I think reform will help small businesses? I don't know. Not talking about politics right now, but thank you. Right, folks, let me pick up this message from John on Insta. You can only imagine how powerful it'll be when they use digital ID to find how money is moving. Yeah, and there's a worrying thought for all of us, John, on the close of that. So, folks, listen, thank you very much for being here on TikTok, on Insta, on YouTube, and on Facebook. It's been lovely working with you, chatting with you this last 48 minutes, 49 minutes. Please do check out my other videos, my profile, my work. Feel free to keep commenting, keep joining in, keep participating. Share the stuff that I do if it makes sense to you. And do check my profile. Look for the link tree and you can find my other socials there. For now, I'll see you all soon. Take it easy.